Right. We were broadcasting to all attendees, all five of them. No, no. This is the fifth session of the GVDS Presents that corresponds to the Global Virtual Design Sprint. Today, I'm very happy to feature Ryan. I want to say, is it David Metz or is it Ryan DeMetz? What's like the proper saying?
Ryan Metz.
Ryan DeMetz.
So
I
just
like that because it
Ryan
rolls off the
Metz.
tongue
It's
better
a
that way.
yeah. Yeah, I think on Facebook, I've just neglected to change my second name as appearing. So it's just like, so now everybody can call me like my mother did when I was in trouble by my full name when I am in trouble.
Well, wait a minute. How did now I have to go there. How did she actually say your name when you got in trouble?
Oh no, it's just a thing. Like I would know that like there was a specific pitch that she used, and like if it was my full name that was said, it
Yeah,
was gonna go down. You done something. It wasn't. It's not to call you for dinner. Let's just put it that way. This was not a, um, yeah, it was not a kind calling.
got it. Well, maybe I'm just thinking she goes, Ryan did David Metz, like really slow and under the ring and stuff like that. So it was very very meaningful. Like I'm talking to you. Anyway, you are the customer and community support person. I put Godfather actually in the description, but you are the
I saw
person that supports community and customer and community support at AJ&Smart. They are a Berlin-based company specializing in innovative product design through the design sprint methodology. You are a self-described digital content consumer, and you're actually out of Johannesburg, South Africa, where you live and work with your family. That was one of the most intriguing things about you when I first met you, is that I had just assumed, since you were working AJ&Smart, that you were in kind of in the European area, and you were living and working there. So it was a curiosity where I was like, Johannesburg? And I thought, wait a minute. Okay, so that's why I kind of cited you out beyond like what I saw in the forums. And then that's where I was introduced to who you were, your lovely backdrop that I think you've gotten rid of. And now you have a completely different kind of like version. And only people that know the history know. And essentially there was a phase where you had, and I'm going to introduce this now, this majestic beard that I've never seen anyone have. It was like, I've seen it in your pictures in the past and everything else. And now it's gone. I kind of miss it. But I think it's probably a good entry, not the beard, but the talk of kind of your origin story with AJ&Smart. So kind of give me a rundown of how the two of you kind of came together, how you two discovered each other, and how that kind of transformed into you working for them and being part of their clan.
Yeah, sure. So the beard is gone. It's official. This is a live video. This is not a mirage. This is not a puppet show. So for those disappointed folks,
I think it's very, yeah, it's very nice.
So change is good, and I've changed a bunch of things. And so it's a bit of a funny story because I can only explain this to folks that have online personas and are active online that'll understand it. Like explaining this to my parents, I think my mom did a backflip when I told her. But I essentially stumbled on AJ&Smart first through a sort of one-to-one video on an interview that was on YouTube that Jonathan did with Rand Segal, who I'd been following for some time. I'm no designer, but I've always sort of I've sort of had like an eye on design, and sort of, you could say, an aficionado to design. I appreciate good design. I know what it looks like. And I just really enjoyed Rand's style. And when Jonathan came on, he was just like this wellspring of knowledge. And I just thought, shucks, I need to get more of this. As a self-proclaimed digital content consumer, I thought, shucks, he must have some more stuff. A person like this is certainly not keeping it for themselves. And sort of went up, you could say, up the funnel, and like followed all of AJ&Smart stuff, discovered Design Sprint by association. And yeah, just sort of followed them on Instagram when stories, became a thing. I sort of met the character of Brittany, and just really enjoyed the content. There was lots of value, there was lots of candid discussion, and it sort of, it was a nice spark for me. At the time, I was working at a sort of smaller niche agency that didn't deal at all with that facet of design. And I've always sort of wanted to dip into that. And, you know, the AJ&Smart kick, or a lot of the folks that I followed online, the blogs that I read, the videos I consumed, was on that niche. And there was literally a call out. I think I saw it on a Friday or something on an Instagram story to say they're expanding their team. They're looking for somebody to help with some marketing stuff, and to help customers, which I've done many, many different facets of. And that those folk need to check out a page, which I did, which had the, you know, a rough description of what the intent was. And that sort of the trigger point for me was that it was Berlin, or they would consider remote. And I thought, well, you know, remote work is a trend that's come up, and I've always sort of fancied working for a company that's sort of not in my location, or not bound by location at least. And literally one Sunday night, without even telling my wife, I snuck an application out and just like wrote a cover letter and sent it off, and had 2 very quick interviews in that week. And a week and a half later, I was offered a job, which is sort of the start of my journey. And I started in a trial, and that's well over a year ago. So that's kind of how I found AJ&Smart. And the role has developed as, you know, as time has gone on. We've added to our team. There was only Laura and myself when I joined, which was interesting in itself. We had to carve sort of the work out in between us. And like, being that I've come from, you know, an agency background to like a smaller agency, I've got quite a diversity of skills, or I'm dangerous at a lot of things, I would say. I can do some automation. I can write a bit. All learned on the job, but everything I've done and what I continue to do is around people, which is what inspires me. I like thrive on wanting, like, I'm not a person that like it wants to always be in the limelight, but I thrive on supporting others to propel them forward, which is what I do in the community as well. And it's such a treat to be able to do that and get paid for it. And, you know, working at AJ&Smart, like very, very many of us share the same sentiment. And it's really inspiring for me to work there. And there's a lot of colleagues that I get along with extremely well. And I think we're making a noticeable difference in the design sprint as a whole, but just online education as well, as, you know, along with other partners. You know, people like Ransigal still inspire me. People like the Christos of the world. You know, so that's kind of my origin story. I continue to follow those, and, you know, that's kind of how I arrived sort of at AJ&Smart. If that's, I don't know if I've answered your question or if I'm rambling too much.
No, it's fine. I mean, you're probably answering the 2 or 3 follow questions I would normally ask you if you hadn't like filled in the blanks for me. So now I have to kind of go back and go, okay, where do I go from here? He's kind of covered everything that I could possibly ask him. Let's kind of dive in a little bit into the community that you do support. So I'm part of that community, actually. I was very active when I was first starting out Dallas Design Sprints, and being part of the forums that you had in the Facebook group. And so it was kind of a funny story. Before you came on, I was, you know, I loved helping people, and I loved being able to like find out about other people that were doing design sprints. So when you came on, I kind of thought, okay, what would be really interesting is, let's see if I can answer it faster than Ryan can. So I knew that it was part of your role to go in and help other people with what they needed to do. But at the same time, if I knew a question and I could immediately fall back on my experience and answer it, I thought, okay, he's probably still asleep in Johannesburg, wherever he is, or he hasn't responded. So I thought, okay, I'll go ahead and answer it. And it was one of those things that over time, it's just, you were just part of the conversation. And at first it was like, okay, well now there's Ryan here. But after supporting the community for a while, what have been some of your experiences with that? Has it been where where the questions that have come across in that channel have been like, oh, that's something that's easily answered because that just falls into line with, like, say, the masterclass that AJ&Smart has? Or have there been particular questions where someone's posted them and you're like, and they had to have a thought, and then maybe you take a step back and let the community answer? I mean, tell me a little bit of stories, any stories around that, around the
sure,
types of encounters you've had supporting the community.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, one of the really really nice things is that there are so many of us, and I think people see the value in being helped, and it's sort of a I don't want to say it's a cycle, but if you find value in it, you've got a question, and somebody answers it and provides you with insight. You're more likely to, when there's a question that you may have because of an experience you've had, and the answer for somebody else, and you can sort of stand in the gap for them, that you can answer them as well. So loads of experiences like that. Often very much, a lot of the questions are similar or come from a similar perspective, I would say. And those are easier. Those are sort of masterclass questions specifically related to sprint. But a lot of them are also sort of stakeholder management, or like during a sprint, if it's a topic that seems foreign, or if it's if you're working with innovation labs and sort of innovation departments, it's very common that you'll find a very, very unique scenario. And those questions definitely make me stop and think. Something that comes to mind, doing sprints with food. That's not, that's something that came up recently, and like it's fascinating that it's being used. And that's also something that breaks my mind, is that like how many different uses there are for the same methodology, and how many we've seen in our community. And I'm sure that there are copious amounts more out there that we don't see. So questions like that make me stop and think. A lot of them are also, business related or staff related. Should I hire? Should I not hire? How do I approach a client? How do I convince somebody? So very much from a sales perspective, or a client engagement perspective, which I've done a lot of, thankfully. And so I'm able to help people, because, I think it's a sticky point for people, to take the knowledge and then actually apply it. People aren't scared of the applying bit, but it's sort of, how do you get to apply it? Those are the type of questions that come up often. And I enjoy helping people with that, and also seeing, because it's a tangible result. It's either it's a yes or a no from a client, which I enjoy helping people. And again, like, if you help them gain confidence in themselves, because of course they've got knowledge, they've got subject matter knowledge, but you just need to do it once, and then one is convinced that you can do it for yourself, and that you can stand in your own knowledge, and you don't have to feel like an imposter going into a room, and that if you trust the process and you trust your experience, that a lot of things are possible. So a lot of it also stems from encouragement, and just saying to somebody, you can do it, or people celebrating that it's their first sprint coming up, and you can see, like, I can spot trends now, that like if the questions are coming like thick and fast, like 2 or 3 days in a row from the same person, you bet your bottom dollar that like it's a new sprint for somebody, which is fantastic. And obviously then just wanting to support them. A lot of the support also happens outside of the Facebook group as well. Some folk don't fancy posting in a group, or again, perhaps from a just feeling that their questions aren't strong enough or aren't worthy enough. There's obviously no bar that we set, or precedent that we set, that no question can't be asked. But they come through via like email. So I spend a lot of time on email as well. People coming onto the chat that are not even in our communities, that I provide advice to freely as I would anybody else.
One of the things that's a characteristic of you that I've seen since we've interacted is that you're very accommodating. I mean, you take the time out to not only give nuanced answers, but really try to give them like a reference point, where to go. Sometimes it doesn't. I've seen the same question posted by different people. Like sometimes it's around pricing. Other times it's around, I have X number of people in this particular situation. What do I do when this happens? Or how do I set up for this? So it's not, I think it's every single time I've seen you answer, it's been thanks for asking the question, maybe some relation, especially for the situation. And then the answers usually are pretty well thought out. So if nothing else, I really appreciate the kind of value you bring, especially with answering those types of questions. Do you find that when you're, I think I know this question, but I'm not going to assume that the way you approach customer service on the client side is going to vary much greater than you would if you were public facing, and that there's much more at play with what's being asked of a client that's paying AJ&Smart to do work?
Um,
Or is it the
I'd like to
same?
believe, yeah, for me, I'm, that thought definitely comes up. But I try not, like, I don't withhold knowledge or anything. So if somebody asks me a question on the chat, which, like, you need no email to access me, or like, I am sort of the most public facing person, you could say,
Mhm.
apart from, you know, some social media channels. And um, I just approach it from, you know, just wanting to out generous whoever else. You know, if somebody has come out and just taken steps to engage with me, which is it's something in itself. You know, they don't just, it's not from a Google search that they rock up. You know, they come there with intent, and often just, of course, there are some jokers around, and you know, there are some things that come up that perhaps are that I'm quite stern on and that I don't tolerate. But I don't know. I just try to provide as much value, you know, as I can, and in every scenario to somebody, because I know that, you know, it's perhaps a disguised question. You know, as I mentioned earlier, you know, if you're not feeling confident in sales and have sales question, perhaps it's something that you don't feel that you're worthy enough for the sale. And just really trying to encourage people that, you know, they can, and just giving people the edge if I can, or at least being sort of a hand in providing them the edge. I by no means like think that I do everything for people. It's just like, if anything, I just hope that it's a trigger point for somebody to say, shucks, this is actually really good advice. Let me roll the dice and let's do this. And you know, if it pays off, that works really well for them. And I like, it's really nice to hear, and I often do get some really nice feedback. And but I also, it's not a requirement for me to, like, people don't have to do it. I get so much value out of just be able to provide a very nice detailed answer to somebody. I get a lot of satisfaction out of that. So it doesn't have to be reciprocated.
Good.
I
Okay.
don't know if I'm answering your question.
You are. You don't have to be timid about this stuff. This is the platform for Ryan. We are here to talk to you. I'm not going to be looking at a board going, good answer, Ryan. I'll go ahead and mark that off. And
Fantastic.
then
Good.
later on when we're off the
That's a
call, like,
green
Ryan,
one.
you
You're
could
gonna,
have
like,
really done better with that one. That was
just
just,
and say, this is terrible.
that was
These are the only
127-minute
positives.
tirade about customer support. We get it. You love people. Fine.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
good.
I will say one thing though, that one thing I've been quite bad at, and one thing I'm trying to work on, as somebody that has consumed copious thousands of pieces of content over the last, like, probably 10 years or so, I've been really bad in creating a recall system for myself. So my recall, you know, there's a couple of highlights that are further back, but most of them are like what I've seen in the last year at least. And just being able to create a system for recall. So that's something I'm working on. But I've received so much value, and even the job I have, as I, you know, spoke about my origin story, is because of, you know, I've just lost my train of thought. Give me a second. Those who've come before me, and have, you know, generously offered their content, and without me being a paying client of any of these people, you know, being able to pass that knowledge on to somebody else and say, I've actually come across this already, and this person says it's so much better than I can. An example on pricing is somebody like Jonathan Stark. Like, he's somebody that, like, really speaks, and just, it's value. I think about the folks at Basecamp, that also have written so many really nuanced articles, and these are also thinking pieces, not long things. People like Seth Godin, and, you know, stuff that he has said, even some of the colleagues and stuff that they've written, like, and I just pride myself in taking that knowledge and passing it on to people, that can benefit from it as I have benefited from it. So just, like, I'm there to serve, and that's kind of my mission, just to be able to pass, so we can collectively become better. I get satisfaction about consuming it, taking knowledge from it, and passing it on. And you can perhaps put that into practice, or get motivation, or pass it on to somebody else. And collectively, as a, you know, diverse audience, we can collectively improve the world around us, which is sort of the sort of the ultimate goal, the vision statement, if you want to call it that. I just really want to create, like, I've got 2 small children, and just being able to, be the best version of myself, the example that they see. That's also something that happens as a remote worker, is my children come into my office every night, or like every day, and they want to, they know some of the characters I speak to. They always ask, like, did I see these people, and did I speak to this person, or what am I working about, as my son will ask me. And it's super cool to be able to say, like, I've done this, I'm helping somebody with this, or I spoke to somebody about that. That drives me. And, I get tremendous satisfaction out of that, and a kick out of it.
Yeah, and I can really relate to that. So part of me getting the GVDS, doing the Global Virtual Design Sprint, even some of the community stuff that I do offline that nobody really knows about. Part of interacting with all these professionals and practitioners, you get perspective, especially from the younger designers and developers and people that are trying to make the mark, or at least, trying to find the next job, or whatever that situation may be. What I really appreciate is just the perspective that they bring, the point of view. They look at things differently. They see the world through a different lens. And being around as long as I have, I've come to appreciate that more and more as I've gotten along, that I have just a nuanced view into this particular discipline of design sprints and organization and other things. And I have my body of experience, but I don't put that on a pedestal. I just say, like, okay, this is where I've done things and I've been good or bad at it. But what I really appreciate is people that come to the fore, that don't have that history, and can look at things differently, and really being able to take that in and thinking, okay, how can I make that a part of my narrative or what I do? So in a way, I envy you, because you have access to so many different people, and just being an innovative company that AJ&Smart has historically, it's the impression of having that kind of narrative that I think would probably serve you in the future in a really good way. But yeah, I'm totally related to that point of view you've got, especially with being someone that can be the best version of yourself, something that your own family can look up to. Academically, we won't go there, but both of us have, both of us have a history with, like, going, maybe this isn't.
For the folks who are tuning in, I'm going to take the liberty of saying that Robert is trying to throw me under the bus. This was a privilege. This was a privilege. He's taking this from a privileged conversation between my lawyer, me, and Robert, and I will take him to court. Like,
oh, Janice, holy cow! I've lost it. Okay, I'm in trouble. This whole thing is shut down the live feed. It's done. I was like, no, I can't do this. This is terrible. What have I done? Anyway, speaking of, let's get into some of the questions that other people have been asking you or wanting to ask you. My crap that I'm putting up here, because clearly I'm missing the mark in every capacity with this. And, now that it's all filmed and historical, after November I can hang it up, and maybe I could just be Santa Claus in a mall every year and make that my main thing. Anyway, let's get into this. So as part of this GVDS Presents, we ask people who register to log in some questions that they want our special guests to answer. And I send these questions in advance so that folks like Ryan can kind of get a gist of what people are asking or what they're curious about. And for some of them, they're most of them are really thought-provoking, but we want to kind of line those up and make sure that people are kind of get their questions answered. So the first one that I want to bring up to you is from Sandy Lamb, who is somebody I'm very familiar with, and she's a product designer for Software AG out of Germany. She's also my partner in crime when it comes to the Global Virtual Design Sprint, and we'll be actually speaking, I believe, I want to say tomorrow. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I know she's this week. But her question to you is, do you remember the whole student database? Every time someone posts on Facebook asking for design sprinters in the region, you can always name a few really fast. So maybe the question is asking, like, is there a particular database of design sprinters that you kind of refer to kind of refer to others, or are you aware of some sort of resource like that?
So it's not publicly available because it's in my mind, unsurprisingly. I'm going to try. I have to be humble. I have to. This is tough. I have to come from a position of humility.
Why?
Hey,
look, you can, after my snafu, you got the whole floor. You can basically parade around like, yes, well, as a matter of fact, I did X. This is why it's so great. Please, I mean, this is
so
if I ask digital spotlight and render it in Zoom, I could do that. So please speak.
So I have a fairly decent memory, which is where all the content goes. And for those folk that, so a lot of our, our process or onboarding is done sort of automatically. So I don't see everybody, but I go in and check and, recurring names. So if somebody has, as an example, if somebody has had an engagement with me prior, sort of jostling with wanting to, take part of the course or not, and I get a name, I will remember the name. And then, on purchasing, I go and check that everything is sort of happening. I do sort of a, quick check. So I then see the name again. And if I see them in the group, I approve all the groups. So then I've like done a bunch of recall things. And then often I see who posts, who posts what. So I have, I need to type it out, but then I can sort of see where people are from. But it is often folk that are active. Also, a bunch of times people have said, hi, I'm Ryan and I'm from Johannesburg. And then I remember those names. So when people are asking for something in that region, I often will say, if you're in San Francisco, here are 4 people. I know that Sandy travels a lot, but I know that Sandy is in Leipzig, as an example. And so I have these like in my brain. I have a list of addresses where all the certificates and things go from. I'm fairly organized in terms of all my addresses and names of people and emails. That's why I can send you robes in the mail without asking for your address.
By the way, thank you for that. I still have mine conveniently located in my near my bathroom, which is perfect because after the pose that I did with the 2 certificates, that has been preserved so that it's only for special occasions that I go that route. So please keep going.
But yeah, so I just, that's one of the things I try and do, and just, as people engage, that's something that I just take note of. For me, it's not, there's a person behind it. And funny enough, I actually met Sandy on my last trip. I was over in September and I met Sandy. So Sandy has seen me, not like this, but a slightly different version of me, because I only shaved once I got home. So Sandy has met me.
Were you?
I'm real.
Or were you kind of like?
Yeah, no. I was with I only shave. I only shaved once I got back. I just felt like a change, and that's like the first time in 2 years that I've pretty much shaved clean, as well. So no, like it wasn't for this. If you were thinking that, I had to disappoint you.
Oh no, it wasn't. I actually thought it was something where you kind of have the ability to see the future. So that the shaving of the beard is maybe ceremonial, but it can also signify that a major event is coming. So I corresponded with that. But I have no idea. So if something, this could swing both ways, Ryan. So it could be something where something amazing in the world happens, and I go like, you know what? It was all because Ryan just basically went clean shaven. Or
I took the trimmings and put them somewhere, posted them to somebody, because that was asked at the office. I was like, wow, because I changed my Slack profile as well. And then they were like, what? The beard is gone. Like, what happened? Where did you keep the clippings?
Your most current picture, I must say, is very Matrix-like. It's very Matrix-like. Well, I thought it was like, whoa, now we're going into a whole new phase of Ryan's professional career. So
yeah. No, but yeah, but for me, there's a personality and there's an actual person behind a name. And although, and I mean, I think you may even find that, and perhaps it's, slightly more tangible with things like the global design sprint, the global virtual design sprint, the
Mhm.
virtual bit eludes me a bit. That there's behind the names that you've been seeing, the people that have been commenting on Facebook posts, the people that you've been emailing, there's an actual person with an origin story, with a story of how they've arrived where they are, that are trying to make an impact in their locale, that have a
Exactly.
unique perspective. So I then, it is memorable for me. I'm not like a father figure to the community, but I certainly like, for me, it's a family. Like, I will support you. I will send people your way. If there's somebody in your area that you need, um, like, that's really special. Something that came up recently, that I was super chuffed with was that Amma, um, I think it's Arabson, or I
Yeah,
probably butchered it.
he prefers, so
That
it's
he,
Raleigh.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I recommended him to somebody that was looking for a job because I knew of the location that he was in, as an example. And he got in touch with Andy, and works there.
yeah,
Which is like super cool for me to, just to have made the connection, to say like, shucks, based on like that memory as an example, somebody has got a new opportunity, in a different country as well. And they will go on to do things in their community, and for others as well, because of, why I'd like to think that, but there's no requirement on my side for it. It's like, if I do a favor for you, you need to pay it forward. But things like that are really, really, really rewarding for me.
yeah.
Um,
I'm 100% there. I like to think that I help move the needle forward, but I'm a person that doesn't like to take credit for any kind of success somebody else has because it's on their own merit. But to your point, if I can somehow influence an outcome in a way that's positive, that moves the needle forward, that's especially with Amir. I mean, I embarrassingly such, I sometimes become people's fan to the point where they're kind of like, that's nice, I'm great, that's good, you can go ahead and be happy for me. And so I try to temper that a bit. But when I see the potential in others, I do kind of get a little like, okay, let's go, let's make this happen. And people have different reactions to that, but yeah, I think Amir's great. I think he's got just like off the charts potential in terms of where he wants to go. So I tend to be people's biggest fan once I get to know them and what they're about, and be available to them that they can help. And it's the same thing you're talking about. So yeah, I'm right there. Interesting enough, there's a certain Ryan DeMett's hack that I've done that I've never told anyone. That's been something that I've kept in my back pocket. And since you're on the session, I think I'd like to share with you. So you were talking about having the ability to send like things out to different people, like knowing who they are and helping them out. One of the things I've noticed on LinkedIn is that you're very active in when somebody graduates from your masterclass, AJ&Smart's masterclass. You will go out and say, "Hey, congratulations, good job," and you kind of give them a message, and it's a goodwill to kind of do that.
mhm.
But as someone who is a serial networker like I am and loves to be able to connect to new people, I just basically follow in your footsteps. So I check them out, check out their profile on LinkedIn, figure out who they are, like what their background is. And if I sense that there's something to have a conversation, I'll go ahead and add them to my network as by proxy. So I'll literally, whenever you in the newsfeed, whenever you interact with someone on the AJ&Smart Design Sprint realm, I'll just follow, you know what, you're part of the community now. We're both in the masterclass. Let's connect. And it's a perfect
Mhm.
bridge because I've been able to meet
Yeah.
some people that way that I never would have otherwise. So
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, again, again, I know that, that people, like, I get added copious amounts of times. I do no fancy networking or purposeful networking, but when things are tagged, I know that I have perhaps slightly more reach than most. And by doing that, I hope that, somebody sees it in the network by the engagement and interaction that they're doing. It's an achievement for people. That's why they're posting it there.
mhm.
Um,
It's an
I will
investment
soon
of
be
their
rolling
time,
out.
especially.
But yeah, I mean, for me, it's just like, it's just really nice because that's somebody that has posted and actually taken an action based on something that I've sent them. A little known fact is that I take care of all the certificates. I have pulled, like, I'm surprised I'm not gray my whole head with the amount that like people that I don't think people understand the turmoil that I went through to get a vendor that can sort out the certificates. The physical ones, the digital ones I do myself as well. But yeah, so just like it's really nice for me, and I get a lot of positive feedback from that as well.
So
Which is super nice.
you handle the physical ones as well? Is it both you and Laura that kind of handle those and ship them out?
Ryan,
Oh, okay.
it is property of property. Laura used to them, so it got to such a state where like it would cause havoc for like 2 weeks in the office.
They aren't just outsourcing
Every time, like
because it's a little bit cheaper to do. They really feel like
no. I don't do them anymore. I've never done them in South Africa. I nearly did them, but our postal service is not as fantastic. And shipping things to the States from here or from here to Europe is quite costly, and the cost model didn't make sense. So I have we've got a really great company after bumping my head with 1 or 2 vendors that now understands the specificity that I require with my with the state that they are supposed to arrive in, that they don't arrive mangled. Because again, it's something that I care of. It's something that people look forward to. It's something that doesn't scale, something that like I fought to retain. And, you know, it's something really special for somebody. You know, it's very seldom in a digital world with digital products and so many different streams of digital things that you get physical something. I send loads of books all over the place, all the time. I rack up a massive Amazon bill. Like every time I see that there's an opportunity, like somebody reached out to me like a few days ago and said that, you know, they had interest in it and they'd loaned the book from somewhere, and I said, no, but shucks, I'll send you one. Jake's obviously super happy with that because he gets another, you know, we buy the books from him. So it's really nice for me to be able to see that. And just
do you ever kind of do something where in the certificate, do you ever put your like a little like signature towards the bottom of the certificate that's like, hey, thanks for kind of like being part of the AJ&Smart community and so on? Has there ever been discussion about you kind of putting in your own kind of like message at the back so that, you know, after the post-apocalyptic world, I can look back and then say, it's like, well, at least Ryan signed the certificate.
Yeah, I work in digital for a reason. That's what I will say. My signature and my handwriting is not very delicious.
Oh,
so
well, it could be a matter of personal preference, but hey, I'll take it with you.
My calligraphy skills are not as wonderful. The love won't transcend.
You can have an emoji stamp. You know, you can put a certain stamp and just basically put it right on there. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah, no, it's possible.
One other question that came in was there was a curiosity by someone that's asked, has AJ&Smart run any virtual or remote design sprints or LDJs? And I think I know of one, and that was the Kevin Rose one that you had did a kind of a promo on, in that you were working remote with him. But you know, have there been other kind of situations where you've gone down that route?
Yeah. Absolutely. I can't mention too many companies' names, but yes, very often if travel isn't possible and it is from a referral, we have done things in the US, then obviously they just work like night shift workers, as then the sprints run, you know, they only, you know, the team that's on the sprint will only rock up in the afternoon. But yeah, we've run first sprints like that. We've quite often our iteration sprints are also remote. Because folk would then have come into the office, you know, flown in from the States or, you know, wherever the location is, and spend time there. They go back whilst we are prototyping and testing. We do sort of a debrief, and then we do the iteration after that, which is very often remote. So yes, absolutely. Remote, it has been made much easier with, you know, the systems that are available to us. A lot of our stuff runs through Basecamp, and we can do Zoom calls. We've got infrastructure at the office to be able to sort out connections and video streaming. Of course, wonderful tools like Mural and Miro exist. So given enough training and stuff, it's as effective. You can record lightning demos of a loom and share those videos. So technology has really been an enabler for, like, I don't know what the right word is, but sprints that are not bound by location.
Virtual sprints.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not talking about Oculus or anything like that, but yeah.
One day, but yeah, we try, but I can see Sandy said that, yeah, Dia said as a first time, we try and shy away from it. Quite often there are a bunch of, so small caveat to that, some folk move around from company to company. If it's an innovation manager, we've also dealt with people that have moved companies and then wanted to do sprints. So by definition, that would not be their first sprint. So sometimes that has been the case, which, if it's cold, unlikely that we would do a virtual sprint. Like, totally, they know nothing about it. The onboarding process would be a nightmare. It would be, in some companies, close to impossible because of tech stack that they do. In corporate companies, you can't Skype somebody that's outside your organization if they're at a bank or something.
Yeah, there's logistical issues with those kinds of things sometimes.
Yeah, but yeah, for the most part, I mean, it's possible. But yeah, mostly iterations are remote.
So outside of AJ&Smart and kind of supporting the community, I won't go into popular culture because that's as we discussed offline, that's probably something where you're just going to probably nod at me and not say much. But you know, since I've already gone down the path of kind of like bringing some stuff up that are just won't go there. What I am curious about is that your awareness of digital products and content online. Like, I get the sense from the kind of work that you do that you follow that quite a bit, especially when it comes to new stuff that's coming on the market. I mean, are you of the caliber of someone that looks at Product Hunt and other sites to kind of look at some new things that are coming around? Is that just something that you naturally do? Is that part of your responsibilities? I mean, where do you kind of play there?
No, I think I've always had a curiosity towards tech, and that's, you know, something that has pulled me towards it. Like, I moved, like, if I go way back, before I got married, sort of, you know, during the early 2000s up till about 2012, I worked in retail. I did furniture retail, and then I did clothing retail. And then, you know, I moved away from that. And then I moved from retail, sort of handshaking retail, handing over physical items in the store, into a digital agency. Then I got an opportunity through a friend of mine, because of a sort of a intrinsic want to understand tech, understand development and design, that I've been following since even my retail days. So I've always been somebody that is just always on the prowl and always, you know, looking out for stuff. I don't troll Reddit for things, and I don't go to Product Hunt. There's a few people that I follow. The majority of my discovery actually happens on Twitter. I follow some really nice people, and I've interacted with a bunch of people. I was very passive until probably about 6 months ago or something. But yeah, I mean, I discovered a lot of things from that, and just, you know, seeing something that looks interesting, having a quick peek at it, saying, oh shucks, this is really good, and then putting it in my filing cabinet for retrieval later. And then I often share it with colleagues. I've also got, for the first time ever, also colleagues that are also very wired the same. So something that Brittany shares often on Instagram, something like the interesting links. I'm quite an active participant in that, and, you know, loads of other people are going to Product Hunts and other forums and, you know, opinion websites that discover a lot of things. I don't read The Verge or Gizmodo or anything like that. It's US news. It's nonsense. It's fake news.
What's curious about it is that I've never heard somebody say, you know, I look for new stuff on Twitter. So I've always considered Twitter to be like kind of the watering hole of the internet, where people go to discuss topics. there's trending hashtags in Twitter, so you go to something that's the news of the day. But I'm curious now, like, how do you kind of scan Twitter for interesting things related to product and related to tech?
So I don't use any hashtags at all. I don't look out for specific hashtags. It's literally, and some people don't like it. Like somebody that has, if I've liked something of yours, it may show up in Sandy's feed by association, or they may like stake it out and say like, "Ooh, do you fancy this? What do you think?" And then if you engage with it, they're like, "Okay, maybe we'll feed you some more Sandy until you follow Sandy." You know that. I've really enjoyed that. I don't have lists on Twitter or anything like that. I just follow a group of really, really sort of engaged people. And yes, it is a watering hole, but often I get respect and credibility, or I gain, well, they sort of validate themselves and their opinion by what they put out. And then I'm like, Robert shared something. I know that Robert doesn't share nonsense. So I'm not going to find this on Snopes. Let's let's go and have a look. No, seriously. And then you're okay. Or like, if I get an email from James Clear, I know like there's going to be value in there. They're not trying to smoke me. He's not trying to do funny tricks. Somebody like Paul Jarvis, I've also followed for many, many years. That's on the email newsletter front. There's some really good newsletters that I follow that I often get some tidbits from. But just really there's just people who have continuously been putting out like really, 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 really good things online. And that I don't know.
I tend to be the same way with LinkedIn because I spend most of my time there. So again, like I had mentioned before, I follow you. I kind of pay attention to when you post because I know that that's community based and that has a value there with finding new people that I've never met before. Then there's people like Lee Duncan where he'll post up things related to tech and AI and some really interesting, because he's a really deep thinker. He's somebody that has like crazy perspective on stuff, where he's, he has an intuition for finding really interesting stuff. But I was going to mention that I sadly don't use Twitter in that way, and I should. In fact, while you were speaking of it, I went back and said, who exactly am I following? So you'll like this. I follow 3 people. One is my own company, which is like so self-effacing or self-serving that's embarrassing to say. Just because I want more followers for my own business because I love it so much. Neil deGrasse Tyson is the other person. And then I follow a parody account of Jesus H. Christ, who says he's a carpenter magician and only wants 12 followers. Because it's a parody on that particular thing. So can you imagine I have an astrophysicist and a parody version of a Christian deity, all kind of mixed in with my own stuff that I'm promoting. So it's a very bizarro kind of blend, I guess.
There's just a bunch of people that you sort of like that you engage with their content really well, and like I must say, just stringing, compounding strings like that together really makes the difference. So for me, it's also really, really cool that that you can interact with so many people that would have been untouchable. People like Jason Fried years ago. They put out a lot of stuff and they were untouchable, and now you can interact and get a response from them.
So
somebody.
Oh, go ahead. You were saying. No. Sorry.
I know what you. I didn't look at that.
Do you also leave yourself voicemails? Holy cow! If I have like a split personality and it comes out now, I mean, this is going to be one of those sessions where I'll be like, yeah, I'm going to reveal everything that's bad about me. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, no, you could. So we'll do a bonus show that I will host, and we can play Robert's voicemails from his answering machine that I'm sure is behind him.
No,
like,
no.
Welcome to the Scrobe Hustle.
Yeah, there you go.
Hi, it's Rob.
This is all the people that he actually does business with. Like, hello, it's who is? Yeah, it's and it'll be a nightmare. No, you have a community to support, Ryan. You do not need all this claptrap that's going to come from Dallas, Texas. You need to concentrate on what's really bringing people value and not anything else related to this. Speaking of which, on Twitter, can you name a few people that you tend to follow that you really look forward to reading when they do post content?
So I know a couple of. This is going to be tricky because I need to like. Wait, I'll find some people. I'll find like. Wait, I'll just go through. So
I don't have music in the background that kind of plays while you're searching.
And yes, I am a dark mode user.
Hey,
I'm part of the dark side. So first one. Wait, I need to post the links of the handles. Okay. So if you don't follow Jason Fried, that's a really, really good one to do. Ben Tossell from MakerPad. I'm a no-code person myself. Vlad from Webflow is also a really, really good follow.
Yeah,
I'll send you a bunch of these. Ryan Culp, controversial sometimes, but I really enjoy his Ryan C. Culp with a K. I really quite just fancy. Corey Haynes from Baymetrics is also really good as well. Let me go through a bunch of them. I'm just going through MG Sigler as well as also really good. I'm going through Owen Williams. He's also really good. I follow a bunch of writers. So Kaylee Moore, who's run a few things with Paul Jarvis. I've got a like Tobias van Schneider. If you don't follow him, he's Van Schneider at there. I also have to like trim these for the audience. Alex Miensch from Todoist. He's also really good. Let me think.
I'll have to get the short list from you.
I've
so you can send me.
I'll have to go through like a feed. I'll find people, but there's just some really good people that just have really thoughtful opinions and also share really, really, really good things. Jake Knapp, let me be that guy. I've been an early adopter on a lot of things, perhaps not as connected as Jake. No, I say that with respect. But if you listen to the Product Breakfast Club or Jake and Jonathan,
wow,
and you've wondered about Superhuman and where they got their invites from, best you know.
Wow. Not only did you weave a plug in there, but you also did a little bit of self-promotion at the same time. Well done, sir. Well done. I think that's the most that's about as crafty and about as sophisticated as you can get. I applaud you.
I will say, Sandy, that I, having worked with Jake personally, not just in public, I really, really admire the voice that he has from a writing perspective and how nuanced that is, and how sort of he is like, Jake won't give you you can't curate a ghost written piece with anything in Jake. So best believe that if it's written content and it's Jake, it's not Jake's assistant or pseudo Jake or me. It's Jake.
Yes.
And I really enjoy his writing style. His newsletters, if you're not on them, the Sprint newsletter and the Jake newsletter are really, really good. I really enjoy that voice that he has in writing. Paul Jarvis I have a similar like respect for Paul Jarvis and the way that he writes. So like I will say that yes, of course I follow Jake. Or should I say, fortunately I do follow Jake.
Yes.
But he's not extremely active on Twitter. There's a bunch of sort of Jake level people that I follow as well. They don't always like put the poke the bear type of questions out there. Those I quite enjoy. I'm not a troll, if you were thinking. I don't engage in troll antics.
In fact, I was going to say, now that we're in the moment of kind of recognizing some really interesting people and what they contribute, I like to throw out a few names that are familiar to you, and you can give me your impression of them as well.
Let's do it.
I promise.
It's the first one. Robert Scrub was like, guys, this has been real, but I've got to go. It's dinner time.
All right, I'll give you an easy one. How about Laura Faint?
My boss, look at that, under the bus, first one, easy. So I have tremendous respect for Laura. Having joined her as sort of her first, the first person in her department, and just seeing how she's grown at AJ&Smart, I so enjoy working with her and have since I started, and just somebody that I really admire in terms of like the amount of stuff that you can do so well together at the same time. I say that as a professional multitasker and task switcher myself, or recovering task switcher. I'm trying to focus more on things.
You're looking great. You're recovering just fine.
Thank you. That's the change. Thank you. Far too kind. But yeah, I just really enjoy Laura's tenacity and just wanting to achieve stuff, and it's somebody really inspiring that leads our team. And part of the community, and and where it is today is because of the things that she started, the ideas that she's very much, from a community perspective, you may see like she's very much in the background, but like absolutely something that I look up to. So I see my dear wants to know if Laura's Canadian. I will deny this if you bring it up again, but I had my first interview with Laura. And during the interview, I sort of had come from a client and rushed home at the speed of light, because my interview, if you have been listening from earlier, I emailed Laura on a Sunday night. She responded an hour later saying, "Cool, let's have a chat." That chat was the next day. So I very quickly had to arrange the time. We are both workaholics, if you're wondering. So Rob said that like all hours of the night you would try and trick me. Laura is the same. So we're cut from the same thing. Laura is not Canadian though. She is Scottish. In my interview, I thought if you had told me that she was Irish, but she doesn't sound like the people where she's from. She's from Glasgow.
She's a mix. She's a nice mix of a lot of different styles.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Brittany Bowering.
Whew. So Brittany is the person that I've looked up to Brittany for a long time. Obviously, she's one of the reasons that sort of she was the stickiness in AJ&Smart, apart from Jonathan's content, which I would have read. I'd read Medium stuff, I'd seen him on video, and just a really, really cool character. Of course, I've had the privilege to meet her a bunch of times this year already, or since I've started, and the same, but the same personality in and out. She's got a Sierra side as well, and she's just really understanding sort of how the machine works, the social machine works, and how to also engage people on social media. She is a master at having seen it, having sort of received her instruction when I've done one or two cameos on the Instagram stories. I just have tremendous respect for her. I think she's come a long way. I mean, she was not a social media personality. Before this, I mean, she was somebody that could speak in front of people, but that's something that she took grasp of, went from zero, and where she is today. It's fantastic. She obviously heads up our media.
Yeah, I was just gonna say really fast. The thing, I know she has a podcast, and I know she's very active, and she's well known social. The one thing that personally I would love to see more of is her writing, because she doesn't write often, but when she does, there's a certain, I'll use your term, a certain gravitas to when she puts a topic on the table and explains it, that is so foundational in the way that she kind of presents it, that I'm kind of like, it's not like where it mixed two laced with opinion and then it's the stuff. It's really just, it's a nice intro. It has solid material all the way through. And at the end, it's like, here's where you can go with it. Almost matter of factly. So if my 2 cents in, is like, that's what I sometimes miss from her, but I wish I could see more of.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I'll agree with you. I have I write quite a bit of content as well, and obviously I'm a keyboard warrior for most of the day. I've not put out much stuff yet, but it's something I'm working on. I've been prompted and pinched from many sides, so I'll soon be putting out stuff. But that's one thing I've always looked I've looked, when Penny was still with us, Penny and Brittany were my go-to in terms of writing, to say like, does this make sense? So I write all the newsletters, the AJ&Smart newsletters. So if you've seen any of those pieces, even just the little intro pieces are sort of me exploring trains of thought and being able to close the gap between sort of what the idea I have in my mind and, what I actually am writing. They've been tremendously helpful for me. So I'll absolutely
your
agree with
emoji
you.
skills are top notch. I have never seen somebody.
No.
Your library of emojis you must have, like the screens that you must have up on like a wall to kind of pick the right one to correspond to the right link is something that is probably the top 10 I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, I will admit that emojis make the world a better place.
I agree. I absolutely agree. We're at time, but I wanted to throw out just a couple more names. D Serrano.
Oh, D is, I don't know. I have tremendous respect for D, and I know that I'm repeating myself from the other two names that you've thrown. She's really like Mrs. Sunshine inside and out. So the D you see on social, again, same person. She's got such a radiant personality when you arrive. She gives you your full attention. She's super, super, super clever, and just knows people, knows how to train people. She is fantastic at training and delivering workshops and being able to very calmly give people feedback. I've loved, I've modeled some of my stuff after her, the way that she writes and articulates her thinking. I've done one or two internal projects with her, and just a real charm to work with. So I've somebody that looking at how she interacts and engages with the community, and she still has that love. She was sort of the pre-Ryan, that was, she was in the community, she's changed roles slightly now. But just like I love meeting Dee, and sitting, just having like product conversations with her, when I have been in office. And I've had, the privilege of spending quite a bit of time with her this year.
And
because I've been to the office a bunch of times.
Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to tell you. Well, great. You pick the last name. So anyone that you want to put up there, then to come on, want to comment on in terms of it, we'll close that out. Close out the session. You go ahead and give me a name that comes to top of mind that you'd like to make mention of and kind of highlight what they're about.
Somebody that I work with.
It can be somebody about you work with. It does not necessarily be that. It can be somebody where you want to leave a comment or a perspective on that person that you want to. Leave it open-ended.
Sure. So I'll answer the one question that came through. So Jonathan is actually the same person, the same quirky person on Instagram. He's the same person. They very much a joker. Very he's distracting to work around. I'll say that, for the type of work I do. But a great character. The person I'd like to highlight, you may have seen some of his stuff, and somebody that is my homie. He becomes my partner when I'm over at the office, is Callum. So Callum you will often see on stories, and I just have an immense I have a really strong connection with Callum and the work that he does, and also the multitude of skills. It's a bit different from what we do. The short space of time that he's able to do it, and the improvement that he's made in himself and the investment that he's made. He's thinking, and he's somebody that really inspires me to want to be better and do more. So I must say, if I had to highlight one person, that would be Callum. On the same vein, somebody on my team, if you want to also, these are people that work in the shadows that you may never have seen, is Dom. Dom joined us. I met him first in January, and he joined full-time in about April. He runs all our performance marketing, so he's the person that sends you ads even though you've bought stuff. But just a really good thinker and just a really, really round, nice guy. I have really nice conversations with him. I don't know. I'm really I feel like it's tough for me to single out just one person. There's a couple people that I really enjoy talking to. So if I want to talk content and stuff that I consume, Emma on our sprint team is fascinating to talk to. The amount of people that we follow together, if you fused our followings and what we've consumed together, it is actually outrageous that he has read so many of the pieces and shared so many of the opinions that I have on not just design or business topics. And it's fascinating for me to be able to work where I do, and just do life with people that in the community that are just like-minded. I love diversity of thought and culture and location and all the different things, and I just try and take in that around every corner from everybody. I may even adopt to say y'all every now and again.
Well, don't get too attached to it, because it does tend to get a little sticky when it comes to like saying the regional like kind of quips of where you are. And even I feel it's not imposter syndrome, but it is where you're kind of like, okay, when I'm in Germany, do I have to do a little bit more greetings of Guten Tagen or Guten Morgen, or I can't even say it right, but I feel like I have to kind of go outside of myself a bit to kind of, yeah.
That's also something that people would probably not, the diversity that I've spoken about, diversity is something that I'm really passionate about. We, out of the collective AJ&Smart team, I think there's about 25, 26 of us at the moment. I think there's 4 Germans, native German speakers. We do not have, on our side of the business, we do not have one German speaker, not one native German speaker. In our team, there's Laura, who's Scottish. I'm South African. Bruno is our designer, who's Brazilian. We've got Anastasia, who's Russian. Dom is Hungarian. And we've just had somebody that's trialing at the moment that's British. So it's like a real mixed bag of people. So we have diversity in thought and opinion and stuff in LDJs and things that we run, and perspectives when we're thinking about marketing and ideas, which is like fantastic.
I would also imagine that the community food events that you have, where everyone brings a dish for everyone to enjoy, like at some of the event at AJ&Smart is going to be like pretty much have like a regional flavor across the board if you're all there at the same time.
Yeah. Germany, you don't need German, and like Berlin is not German. You will be hard pressed to find German on the streets of Berlin. It's like a hipster paradise, and it's a mixed bag of so many different cultures and flavors. You can, I think, I would be impressed if you found like a traditional German restaurant in Berlin.
Wouldn't it be like bratwurst, pretzels, and beer? Or I mean, because I've been in Munich, and that we were, that was the only kind of like native one that we found when we were there, like I don't know, like 5-6 years ago when I went.
Yeah, you can try that at the airport, but not at the Brandenburg gate. But the office is in Kreuzberg, and I can tell you now, there's the closest thing to that is Burgermeister, which is down the road from the office.
Oh my goodness.
That is it. That is it. You will not find a bratwurst. You get that at the Frankfurt airport. But yeah, no, it's
Are you saying that my cultural impressions are going to be basically whichever airport I kind of go in and out of in Germany, or like that's pretty much all the culture I need, and I can just do a flyover like between when I'm going back to India or something like that?
All the very cliche things. Yeah, it's the same cliches that folk have. That anybody from the South, there's like California, New York, and then like a little bit of Texas, and then the Midwest, like everything else. Like it's the same like thinking that people have. But no, it's I don't know, like it's
you
just a nice
never have to
be
travel. You just basically go to the airport. You don't need to travel anywhere else. It just brings it to you at a very high cost. So it saves you the actual yeah. I can see how that goes.
I would say that's right up there.
Well, yeah. Ryan, I really do appreciate your time. I know we're way over time. It's
okay.
great talking to you. I'll get those kind of summary links from you, from Twitter, from the people that you follow. I think it's probably valuable to kind of have that short list. But again, only when you have time. Hopefully it was a good session for you. I really enjoyed the conversation. Yeah. If you have anything that you'd like to kind of leave with in terms of what you're going to be doing in the future, or anything that people should kind of tune in to follow you, where can they find you online?
Sure. So the best place is probably Twitter. and that I'm just Ryan Metz, straight all over the internet, on Instagram, on wherever. I'm the most active, and if you're looking for some interesting people to follow, I don't know how many people I follow. I don't follow back everybody or that follows me per se. But that's a really interesting place to engage with me. In terms of what to expect in the future, AJ&Smart wise, we've obviously recently launched Workshopper, which is our new container to do, so many more things. So even something like virtual sprints or virtual workshop doesn't have to be sprints. It's a better container as opposed to through the lens of design sprints for us to develop products, and obviously there's a much more diverse audience out there. So we are putting out quite a bit of content, and we've got some really, really interesting conversations going on in the background at the moment with that. So it's something that's really like, once we've sort of developed this and put it out there, it's something that really excites me as well, in terms of just, again, like bringing more people into the community, being, accessing so many more different rooms and businesses that we hope to reach with that.
That's workshopper.com, correct?
Workshopper.com, yeah.
Okay.
So there's a bunch of very interesting conversations and interviews with people. One of them who's in front of you at the moment, or in front of me.
I can't wait to read that. I seriously,
absolutely.
Questions. I have not been able to find that. I go to Workshopper literally every other day and looking for new content, and I have not found your interview yet.
Yeah, it's coming. But the Robert Scrobe interview is on there. So Mr. Humble is on there, and there will be much more content to come. And it's just something that we just want to, change the face of education. Sort of a muse that we have is somebody like Christo, who I've also met. I've met two of my heroes in the last month, which is really, really cool for me. I met Ran in Berlin as well.
That's someone I wish I could meet. I mean, both of those individuals I have not had the chance to yet. I will say, though, for the article that's on Workshoppers, that's probably the best example of poofy hair you're ever going to see from me ever. So I don't think it's ever going to get in that space again. But yeah, it was a really nice interview I did with you guys, and I enjoyed it a lot. But this is not about me right now. This is about saying, this is Ryan Metz. This is the community or leader of AJ&Smart. We just had a fantastic session with me. I really appreciate you coming on. Hopefully we will have conversations in the future. But until then, I hope everything is well down there in Johannesburg, South Africa. And thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Perfect. Thanks for your time. Thanks for inviting me on. It's been lovely. And thank you for everybody that's tuned in. It's been lovely to take some time out of your day and to share a bit about me.
Definitely. All right, Ryan. See you later.
Perfect.
Take care, Ryan.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.